Commissioner Clemente, Commissioner Baidoon,
He'll be here a little bit late with the traffic. He just sent the message.
Commissioner Anderson,
Present.
Chair Hattis.
Present.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item, please.
B, Chair's remarks.
I have none today except good to see everybody after a couple weeks of, I don't know what to call it, vacation or do the honey-do list. Next item.
C, approval of the February 21st, 2023 meeting minutes.
Motion in order. Motion been made and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those who agree, please vote.
Motion carried.
Yep. Next item.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Yep. Next item.
Item 1, under new business, communication from 400 Monroe Associates forwarding the monthly operating report for the Guardian Building and First Street parking deck.
Yeah, we have 4 items to receive and file. We could take them all under one motion after she called each one of them. Move to item 2, please.
Item 2, the November 2022 monthly operating report for the Guardian Building and First Street parking deck.
Commissioner McCormick. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, have the question, then we'll see who's gonna answer it.
Okay. So there is Netflix. What is that? Do we know for the, I was kind of boggled by that. Netflix charge for parking as an expense for the parking structure? Is there anyone?
Brown.
Darcel Brown from the Wayne County Exec's office. We'll take your questions, Commissioner, and I'll make sure that I forward those answers over to you.
Okay, and the other question was the snow removal. Do we have the number of times that, I'm not sure how the contract is set up. Is it set up based on each, snow removal, or is it just a baseline contract for snow removal and at a flat fee?
Okay,
That was the other question.
thank you. And can you restate your first question as well?
There is a expense for Netflix, so I'm not sure what that is or what that's about. So I just want a clarification on that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Item 3.
Item 3, the December 2022 monthly operating report for the Guardian Building and First Street parking deck.
3. Hearing none, we move to item 4.
Item 4, the January 2023 monthly operating report for the Guardian Building and First Street parking deck.
And on item 4. No question or motion in order for item 1, 2, and 3, and 4 to receive and file.
We have a motion by Commissioner Baidoon and supported by Commissioner Clemente.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 5, requesting Commission approval of Amendment 2 to a subrecipient agreement with the City of Hamtramck.
Have with us the city. We have with us the city manager, Max Garba Reno from Hamtramck.
Morning.
Good morning.
Tuesday Redmond Community Development Director. This is from the lawsuit from years ago, and I'll have Max explain it, that we had to build 200 homes. 197 homes have been built, and this is the last portion of the homes that needed to be built. We had some NSP funds still available to be able to use, and we coordinated it with HUD to use to build these houses. And so I'll have them explain how everything is going to go.
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Jim Allen. I have since 2005, with a short break in from 13 to 17, I have been representing the city of Hamtramck on a fair housing discrimination case that began in 1968. When I began, the city had 16 years earlier entered into a consent agreement agreeing to build 200 units of remedial housing for the plaintiff class that had sued the city for discrimination. Wayne County has been absolutely integral to addressing this historic injustice. We've gotten support that goes back at least 25 years for infrastructure on the west side of Hamtramck, where we built a good number of the remedial units of housing. And throughout this process, for the last 18 years, as we've been building these houses, Wayne County, along with MISTA and HUD, have been key partners in helping put this ugly period of the city's history in its, hopefully in its past. So this is a rather historic grant, because it will, we hope by the fall, bring to an end what some say is the longest, the oldest case on the federal docket in the United States. So we're very pleased that the county was able to assist us once again in meeting the obligations of the federal consent agreement without the county's help. And I'd like to, I know she's not here this morning, but I'd like to give a special thanks to our commissioner, Martha Scott, who is an absolute stalwart for our community in helping us resolve issues like this. So with that said, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said this case dates back to 1968?
It does.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting to me. And so there, I guess there was an order to build a certain amount of homes, and we've built
97.
Okay, out of
200.
200.
There was
So,
actually a senior center that was built in the 80s. We don't really include that as part of the.
so it's a
200 units.
senior complex.
Well, no, there was a senior set. The high rise in Hamtramck was part of the consent judgment.
Okay, so the other 3,
200 houses are individual units. Some are located in the Grand Haven Dyer neighborhood, which is west of I-75. There's a large concentration. The remaining has all been scattered site housing. There've been NEZs, there've been payments in lieu of taxes. There've been a number of very creative ways that we've been assisted by the county and the state in meeting the obligations under the consent.
so were the individuals pushed out of the
Yes.
neighborhood? So that was
Yes.
part of Black Bottom? Or-
Well, it was actually not, it was north of Black Bottom, but part of the same project that removed the
Displaced?
the people from Black Bottom. That same project removed people from Hamtramck.
Okay, and over the years, we have placed people in these various homes. Is that
We're
correct?
now into the second and third generation of some of the
Right.
plaintiffs.
Yeah. And are the descendants
Yes.
of those folks in the properties and own the properties now?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd also say that
Mhm.
the county treasurer has been extraordinarily helpful in keeping some of those people in their homes. When the state of Michigan came in 2013, one of the mistakes that they made was to reassess the properties of some of our plaintiffs. And we've spent a good portion of our time in the city of Hamtramck on this case, rolling those rates back to where we had agreed to do them when we accepted the grant funds to build the initial 197 units.
Thank you for that background. Thank you.
We have the city manager with us. You'd like to say anything?
Hi, good morning, Honorable Commission. Ms. Redmond and Mr. Allen pretty much summed it up for the most part. We're just here in support, humbly requesting this to be approved by the commission. Thank you.
Mr. Baydun, Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Allen, thank you. Good to see you both, you and Max. Thank you for that historical perspective. You know, as a real estate broker, it's always troubling to me when I see people discriminate in housing. I followed this many years ago, so I appreciate you being here and you have my full support on this.
If no other question, motion made by Commissioner Kanlak, supported by Commissioner Baydun. Please vote.
Commissioner Anderson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know, I guess it's on. Just a quick question, if I could. Who holds title to these units currently, and will that remain the same down the road, 10 years, 20 years from now?
Yeah, there are 3 units that are being built on what are now 3 city-owned lots that have been cleared environmentally, cleared title issues, foundation issues. The lots and the homes that are being built on them will be transferred to the plaintiff, the members of the plaintiff class that are that eventually occupy these homes and own them.
That the same with the other 197 units?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's part of the settlement that was.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about the redress of this historic wrong is that we've got 200 units of new housing, relatively new. Some of them go back to the late aughts where they were built. And we have families, 200 families that wouldn't have otherwise been in the city of Hamtramck who are now
Are these
in
set up
Hamtramck and
Oh,
contributing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they're in Hamtramck and they're contributing as members of the community. We're very
So-
happy with the way.
So Hamtramck received some benefit from as far as tax dollars down the road?
Tax dollars, additional members, adding to the population count. Yes, and it's been a
Thank you.
good
Just
thing for
wanted
us.
background info. Thank you.
To that point.
To that
Commissioner
point,
Baydun.
just out of curiosity, Mr. Allen, so I'm assuming that these 197 homes, they are on the tax roll, correct? They
They are.
pay taxes to this, to
Yeah,
the city.
there are some that are payments in lieu of taxes, but we treat them as if they're on the tax roll.
Okay. Thanks.
So, if no other question, motion made by Kanlak, supported by Baydun. Please vote.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Ali. Next item, please.
Item 6, requesting commission approval of modification 5 to a grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 2019 Annual Action Plan.
And on item 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the date on this is from July. Action plan remains from July 1st of 2019. through-
Yes. That was when the funds were received from the federal government, the COVID funds. And so we have to refer back to the original action plan and make the changes that we need to make.
So there were changes made because of,
The changes are due to the deadline dates. So originally, deadline dates for some of the funds were 9/30 of '22. Then HUD changed the deadline dates until the percentage of the funds to be used by June 30th. So we reviewed the funding that we had, and we saw that we needed to make adjustments to be able to meet the deadline. And so Focus Hope had inquired previously of the need of more funds to distribute food. And so between Wayne Metro and Focus Hope to distribute the funds with the food and with the tenant-based rental assistance, we'll be able to meet our quota for HUD.
this is additional
It's,
rentals?
we actually took away some funds from Wayne Metro to give to Focus Hope to meet the food need as well as meeting the deadline. Focus Hope actually had a contract before and they expended $500,000 and distributed $500 in food. And so we thought that was a really good project that would assist us in being able to meet our deadline.
So the $1 million is split between the two?
Yes.
500 and
Yes.
500?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question? Seeing none. Motion made by Sam Baidoon, supported by McCormick. Please vote.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 7, a presentation by Jason Dixon on the Smart Cities Connect broadband project in Wayne County.
Good morning, Chair.
Hey,
Good morning,
good to
Commissioners.
see you in Wayne County.
Good morning. So I'm very, very excited to be presenting this information in front of the committee because we've been working on this project since 2018. I'm the CEO of Strategic Alliance Community Development. And we looked at, prior to the pandemic, we was working on fiber to the home and low to moderate income communities across the country. We're partnered with Nokia, which is a manufacturer of broadband equipment, the Kellogg Foundation, Flagstar Bank, and Chase Bank. One of the things that we're looking at in these low to moderate income communities is how do we get connected, stay connected for an affordable price. History tells us that there's not a lot of broadband in low to moderate income communities because of the price of it. Folks in these communities can't pay their rent, can't pay the house on time, so how are they going to pay a high exorbitant rate for internet? So what we did was we created the nonprofit to partner with a manufacturing company, not just to bring internet fiber to the home, but also to bring a training facility. So we just purchased Inkster's old City Hall that has been dilapidated since 2014. We have an opportunity to reimagine that as a training facility for broadband. There's no broadband training facilities in the country. If you want to go train on telecommunications, you either have to go to the military, already work for AT&T or Comcast or a telco communication company, and they have to pick you to have upward mobility. So one of the things that we're looking at in this great opportunity that we have in Inkster is not only to make sure we have fiber to the home, but make sure we have people in these communities that can participate in the broadband bill. There's $1 trillion coming to our communities when it comes to infrastructure. And most of that comes to telecommunications broadband. So, and there's not enough people to do that work. So we are in the process now of rehabilitating the Inkster City Hall, which is 30,000 square feet. What does that look like? That looks like we'll be training in fiber optic splicing, directional drilling. And as you see what happened with the last storms we had, we know that we need to put our telecommunications, our energy underground. So we're able to prepare this next generation for that right now, so we don't have to wait. The next thing we can imagine is, one thing in these communities, the wealth gap. We can address the wealth gap in America because we have a technology company and a technology training facility right under our noses. So we've already talked to Westland School Inkster, the schools that's participating with the Inkster School District to participate with us in sending those young people to training for broadband so we can get this goal accomplished. The next piece of the opportunity is working with the manufacturing, Nokia and their partners, Microsoft. We're able to save about 30% for broadband deployment in these communities. Not just here, but we're doing this across the country. So this model has been accepted in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Milwaukee. But Wayne County is our first deployment. So we're coming to you just to educate you on what we're doing. So what we're doing is we're creating jobs. We're reducing that wealth gap in America with technology. The next thing, when you deploy broadband to a home, it adds $5,500 in equity to that community. So just imagine you doing that as a whole. So the process that we're doing is a 100% pass rate in the community. That means every house in that community will be able to accept the broadband if they want to. If not, usually there's a 30% take rate, meaning that 30% of the community usually takes the broadband. So we're not the first to do this. This actually happened in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the early 2000s. And right now, from them having the broadband to the home and broadband to the industrial area, they right now have a $2.7 billion economic impact from doing the same thing that we're doing in Inkster. So when you look at, in closing, I just want to put this on your mind. The US government has been trying to onshore manufacturing for the last decade. They have $30 billion in the coffer right now for onshoring manufacturing. But the reason why they're not able to do it is because they did not have the infrastructure. You have machines doing the manufacturing so you can compete with Mexico and other countries. You have to have machines doing a lot of the work. And without that broadband, you cannot move large batches of data across to get that information done. So this is a real game changer for our community. And it's been done before in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they had a great response with it. So I just want to make sure we're leaders at technology for our region. Thank you.
We have a few questions. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. The building you're saying we're buying, who's buying the building?
Strategic Alliance Community Development, we've already purchased it.
Okay. And what happens to that building? I understand this building is going to be for training for installers and those that are going to put the broadband lines through the neighborhoods.
Yes, sir.
And that's all the building is going to, what happens once that in the project is complete?
Great question. So the project actually is ongoing because it's going to be a head end pretty much for the region for broadband. So we can keep that price. So we've already been working with Westland and Dearborn Heights and other cities in the area so we can make sure we can continue that process.
Right. Okay.
The next thing, bless you. The next thing that we are looking at that I didn't really mention because it didn't have to do with the broadband, we're actually putting a credit union in that building too, and a child care center for the folks who need child care in that center. So now, as we train the folks, we're going to be training them for financial literacy right off the rip. So that's a great model for a credit union. If you have our averages looks like 300 people to be trained per year. As they go through that training, you automatically get the financial literacy training, and you automatically have an opportunity to have be a part of a credit union.
What happens if a resident decides at that time they don't wish to participate or have it come into their house? Will there be like a connection out near them on their property along where the
Absolutely in the right of way
that someone that might be a future owner can just tie in quickly?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what, how affordable is this going to be for the residents?
Another great question. We're 30% cheaper, well, 30% less expensive than AT&T and Comcast because of the model that we're putting together. We're actually passing the cost savings on to the customer, to the community.
Very good. And let's see. So I think that's all the questions I have. And when you say 30% lower, is that of the going rate? Or is that, so roughly, I think some of them, I'm on Comcast, we're paying about just for the internet, about $100, I think, a month.
So right now, what we have is 30%. Our baseline is right now is 30%, right? So as we build the model, there's not going to be any more than that, but it can be less than that the way that we're building the model. So as we get more donors and more people putting money into the coffer to get this completed, the community is actually able to realize those cost savings. So the next thing that's very important to add to that is we're actually starting everyone off with a gigabyte.
Gigabyte?
1 gigabyte. We're not doing anything less than a gigabyte. That's the deal we made with the manufacturer. So we can always make sure the community can realize what broadband can do for them.
Once this is underway, how are you going to get the word out to folks that that you'd like to see agree to sign up?
We've already started.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jason. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for asking.
So I, quite familiar with the work that you're doing, and it's amazing, and it's something that a number of institutions have been trying to deal with for quite some time, and that's closing the digital gap, access to internet and other digital services. One thing that you had mentioned, you mentioned about the some portion of your statement was in regards to dealing with putting utilities underground.
Yes, sir.
And that's something that the most general public agree that we need to find a way to put our utility infrastructure underground. But last fall, I attended a Michigan Public Service Commission meeting where the staff was giving information to the commission, basically saying that it was too expensive of an undertaking. But the need absolutely is there, because I think over the long term, it's something to be beneficial to the system, but also beneficial in addressing some of these ongoing power outages because of inclement weather.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to add to that, as you go through the training, oftentimes people get educated, on a horizontal and vertical path. And then that conversation about it being too expensive, it kind of leaves, because now we understand that if we don't make the investment to put it underground, it's a greater loss for communities of not even their power being knocked out or not having internet service because of the weather.
One thing that we've been hearing for years, as far as this closing the digital gap, providing resources of making sure that individuals have access to broadband, the E-rate program. And that's something that the library, when I was on the library commission, we're trying to fit the libraries. There were conversations prior to me leaving of actually putting towers and providing free Wi-Fi service across the city of Detroit because of the number of libraries and how they're positioned around the city. But I hadn't heard anything from that, but also you don't hear much conversation around the E-rate dollars that are going into the schools and into the libraries to deal with this exact issue. And it has been going, they've been getting, millions of dollars over the past few years.
So oftentimes when you have those dollars, your larger telco sucks those dollars up and they deploy those dollars the way they want once they get them. So that's why we're really focused on how do we make the community stronger by educating them on what really is happening across the country. Because most of the time when you don't have broadband, it's in the Black and brown communities, and this is across the country. So we know that it's a systemic racism problem. So you have people from that community that's strong, that's educated, and empower them to help make those decisions to drive those dollars where they should go. Because ultimately they're our tax dollars.
Yeah, because I will be interested to know exactly what is happening and how because you could use it for telecommunication equipment, some other things.
Absolutely.
But what actually has the library been doing with the E-rate dollars? I would say over the past 10 years that has been coming in, because they were trying to repurpose, like you said, under the various uses that's allowed, and just trying to see that's a lot of money. You don't hear a lot of people talking about that's going into to deal with this exact issue.
Well, I can get with the library and in Inkster and ask them because they just reopened their library. So I can ask them what their plan was. But when we spoke about the internet, they was excited to be able to get a gigabyte for the price range that we were communicating about because it said it helped their budget and it actually will attract more young people to the library.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
So at this point, you're here today to present to us this grand idea that you have, which is a grand idea. So what are we, I mean, you're presenting it, and so now what's the next steps, I guess?
We presented today for education, so you can know what's coming down the pipe, so it won't be, shocking to you that you haven't heard of it, what we're doing. We did Chauncey Billups and some other NBA players actually came out last year to Inkster to do our kickoff to energize, the opportunity. And since then, we've had a lot of change of guards in the election. So folks that didn't know about it. So we're revisiting our process to make sure everyone understands what's going on in the validity and the economic impact that this can have for our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I have the honor to know Jason for a few years, and we chat. Issue and project, but I'm glad I see him here today. He never gave up. He was hardworking man and persistent, and I think his ideas, it's very beneficial to Wayne County. Do you know any other city in Wayne County have their own broadband?
No, sir. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, next item.
Commissioner Clemente?
None?
Mr. Chair.
Oh. Come- Item.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
This item.
Public comments. There are no emails.
Anybody from the public like to make a comment? Anybody on the Zoom? One time more, anybody from the public like to make comment? Seeing none, we move to next item.
Adjournment.
Made and supported. All those who agree signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.